Hello. Season 2 of Shadow Bone. It's so good, and we need to talk about it. So that's exactly what I'm going to be doing. I've been thinking about it all weekend, and so I've collected my thoughts, and now I'm going to give you my opinions about the show and like what they changed from the books and stuff, and how they combine stuff, and how they like switch stuff around, and yeah. I don't want to give a full summary of the show because it's like 8-hour-long episodes, so like that's going to take forever. So I'm going to give you the basic like gold of the characters, and then I'll just talk about what I liked, what I didn't like, that kind of stuff. So okay, first of all, they combined Siege and Storm, which is book 2 of Shadow and Bone, and Ruin and Rising, which is book 3 of Shadow and Bone, into one season. A lot of people were upset about this. I personally am not. Sue me, but Shadow and Bone is not as interesting as Six of Crows to me. That's just my personal opinion. I think that's a lot of people's opinion as well, but like I just really didn't mind that they combined it into one because I think they did it seamlessly. And they obviously did have to leave stuff out, but I think they included the important stuff, and I think that's what matters. So that was like a big thing that they changed. That some people were mad, some people were fine with it. I'm fine with it. The Shadow and Bone stuff, like I love Alina. I don't really like Mal, and I don't really like the Darkling, and the rest of the characters I'm just like, they can stay or they can go. I don't really care. And so I'm kind of just like, I'm so indifferent. But then the Six of Crows stuff, and because like we're kind of in like a weird point with Six of Crows because they're not fully doing their Six of Crows duology yet. They're more doing like origin story, but they're like pulling in stuff from Crooked Kingdom for some reason. It's very strange. But like with all of this stuff that they're bringing in from different books and just throwing it into one season, I'm honestly not mad about it. Like they did it kind of flawlessly, if I dare say. So I'm going to talk about the Shadow and Bone side, and then talk about the Six of Crows side, and then talk about how it came together so well. So, yeah. I'm just starting with Shadow and Bone part, because I care about it, but I don't care that much. Like, here's the thing. When it's stuff about, like, Alina, Mal, and, like, the Darkling and defeating the Shadowfold, I don't really care. But then when it's, like, Alina and Mal, and they're, like, with Nikolai, and they're, like, looking for the amplifier, that I find cool. I think I just don't like the Darkling. I also just don't like Mal. So there's like so many men that I'm just like I don't care about. Nikolai, however, love him. And Patrick Gibson, is that his name, the actor? We were all doubting him, but he delivered. He's a really good Nikolai. So yeah, good for you, Patty. Okay, so like what happened? The reveal of the reveal of Nikolai. Perfect. Basically, Sturmhund, I still don't know how to pronounce it. That's like Nikolai's like code name. He's like this privateer, I guess. That kind of thing. And then he reveals himself as the Prince of Ravka. Whoa, that's crazy. And it's like beautiful, and then like Alina like punches him because she's like, why would you not tell us, girl? And so they arrive in Ravka, and then Nikolai's like, Alina, I should propose to you, because then we can bring Grisha and Ravka, or like the higher monarchy of Ravka together, and we can just be one, and it would be really good. But you don't have to actually propose, or like you don't have to actually be my fiance, because Mal. And Mal's like all annoying and jealous about it when it's like literally like saving the world, and it's like okay, it's like okay, and it's this whole thing. The Alina and Nikolai Benta and like scenes and stuff, that's like I love that. It's just like Mal compared to all the other characters is just so uncharismatic. It's crazy. Sorry, Archie. Love you, man. But yeah, that's just my opinion. Yeah. What else happened? That's honestly all you need. Oh, okay, so they're trying to, like, defeat the Darkling. again and completely destroy the Shadowfold. And so what they're doing is they're trying to find the amplifiers. They found the first amplifier in like the second episode, so that was done. And then they're like trying to find the third amplifier. And then it's revealed that the third amplifier is Mal, my favorite character. It's Mal. And so they're like, oh, we have to kill Mal to like save the world. And it's like, that's kind of like an easy trade. Save Mal, save the world. I would save the world, honestly. And so like they do that, and then that kind of takes us to the last episode, which is, I'm gonna wait to talk about the last episode because that kind of combines the Six of Crows part and the Shadow and Bone part. So moving on to the Six of Crows side, the infinitely more interesting side. Basically they've got kind of like they've got such a good storyline throughout the whole season. They start out by returning to returning to Ketterdam from everything that happened in season 1. They're like coming back to Ketterdam. They find out that Pekka Rollins, a much better villain than the Darkling, must I say. They find out Pekka Rollins now owns the Crow Club, and the Menagerie. The Menagerie will come back later. Just wait. And so they're like, oh, we gotta get Pekka Rollins, because they're always trying to get Pekka Rollins, get him out of here. And so Kaz devises this big plan, a very well done plan, to just like absolutely like take this guy down. And it involves like Jesper and Wylan like breaking into Pekka's house, and they like meet his son, and Wylan plays the piano, and all this stuff. And then they get Pekka Rollins thrown in Hellgate. Period. And then what are their other goals? So they do that. And then they're approached by Zoya and Tolia about this job they have for them, which again involves Alina, who we know and love from the Shadow and Bone side. And it's very similar to season 1. Like, they kind of are doing their Six of Crows thing, and then they're approached with a job to help Alina Starkov. And so basically the job is that they need to get this sword to help Alina take down these shadow monsters created by the Darkling. And they're like, we're in as long as you pay us a lot. And so they're like, what price are you offering us? And they're like, we will literally give you anything. Like, that's how important this is. And so through that they get a lot of money, but they also get a pardon from Hellgate, which you might know Hellgate from the place where Pekka Rollins was just thrown in jail. Also in Hellgate, that's a prison by the way, is Matthias Helvar. Sorry, I'm in my Matthias era right now. Matthias Helvar is also in prison. Matthias is also the love of Nina Zenek's life. And so Nina this whole season is on her own little mission to get Matthias out of Hellgate. And so that's like a little added bonus, is that if they do this, Matthias is out of Hellgate, and then there'll be, the 6 of them will finally be back together. Or I guess they were never together in the first place. It's fine. This is why it's an origin story. Because once they do get all 6 of them together, then it's Six of Crows. Like, the last half of the season, I'd say, is like them working on the Alina side of things and trying to get the sword to destroy the shadow monsters, and just like figuring out how to take down the Darkling, like kind of helping Alina but like separated. So they're both working towards the same goal, and that kind of is what culminates in episode 8, the last episode. But also, see, the reason why Six of Crows is so interesting is because each one of the 6 of them has their own little like thing that they're working on and building on in each season. So like, let's get into it. So Kaz Brekker, the leader of the Crows, basically his internal thing this season is he's trying to get revenge, I don't know, for his brother Jordy, who died because of Pekka Rollins. And so Kaz, that's like part of the reason why Kaz was trying to take Pekka down so hard. And one of the best scenes in the entire season is a scene where Kaz is like talking to Pekka, and he's like, what's my brother's name? And Pekka doesn't even remember, and that's why it's so like infuriating, because like that was literally the biggest trauma of Kaz's life, literally the reason why he is today, I don't know, the reason why he's so like miserable and depressed and like scheming and like isn't able to like even like get physical contact with anyone is because his brother died. All this stuff, so fun. And it's because of Pekka, and so like that's his whole thing. So he takes Pekka down, and then he also has this whole thing where like he's like literally in love with Inej, but again he's very traumatized. He's like blocks out all emotion, and so he's trying to work through that. And I'll talk about what happens in the end in a minute, but that's kind of what Kaz is working on. And then Inej, we'll get to her. She is working on the fact getting over her trauma. It's a lot of trauma. Getting over her trauma from the menagerie, which was like a brothel that she was like forced into. And like the fact that like Pekka Rollins now owns it. I guess like in the beginning of the season, she finds out that Pekka Rollins now owns the menagerie, and they're like trying to get her back. Like he's sending sending fighters, I don't know, spies, something, like little henchmen to go and get Inej and take her back to the menagerie, and that's like her literal worst fear. All that stuff. She's also trying to get Kaz to like open up to her and like confess his feelings and all this stuff. And then when the Alina thing is proposed to the crows, that rhymed. Inej is like, absolutely, I'll do it, because it was also a thing in season 1. Inej, I honestly don't even know like what it is really, but like Alina, since she's the sun summoner, she's like a saint, Sancta Alina, if you know that. And so Inej believes in whatever faith that is that sees Alina as a saint, and so it's like literally she feels like she's like helping a god. so like Inej is in it for that. And then that's kind of her thing. And then Jesper is kind of just like in it for the ride because he's loyal to his crows, but he's also throughout the season coming to terms with his skills and his potential as a Durast, which is a type of Grisha magic person, if you don't know what a Grisha is. And so like it was like, honestly, in the books it's not revealed for like the longest time that he's a Durast, or like he keeps it a secret for a really long time, but people eventually start to figure it out in this season of the show. Which basically a Durast is like people can control metal, so like that's why he's such good gunslinger, because he can like literally the bullets just like go where they want, so it's like cool. And so he's like finding his potential as that, because he's always kind of like repressed his Grisha abilities, and so now he's embracing it. Really fun. Wylan, oh my god, Wylan was introduced this season for the first time. I'm not gonna say that, I was about to say he's my favorite crow. It's honestly like I love all of them so much, but he is just, I love Wylan. And he wasn't in season 1, which was very controversial to a lot of people, but I think the fact that they waited was good, because like if we're thinking about it for real, Wylan doesn't really have much of like a storyline or like a motive until you really get into everything that happened with him and his father, Jan Van Eyck. And they can't really do that until either like if there's another season or like a spin-off show or something. Like they can't really just like throw that intermixed with Shadow and Bone. So I think it's kind of good that they waited to put him in here so he wasn't just like a sitting duck the whole time. And so they throw him in here, and again, with all that being said, he didn't have all that much to do this season. He was just kind of there. He's like the what's the word, demolitions man, which he like makes bombs for them and stuff, and like does little magic spells and like plants and stuff. And so he does that for them, and he's also him and Jesper are also deeply in love, and so that's another thing. But like his main thing is he likes plants, and he is like, I don't know, he's just there. I love him, so he can stay there. Then there's Nina Zenek, who my brain is she's just trying to get Matthias out of Hellgate, right? There's not really much else. She like is kind of excited to be part of the Crows. Like, as for Wyland, he doesn't really want to be involved in like the criminal stuff. Nina is here for it. She's in for the mischief. She's literally almost like a more extroverted version of Kaz. I feel like they both are just like very into the scheming and the plotting, and she's kind of like, her job in the Crows, oh, she's a heartrender, by the way, so she can control people's blood and their hearts. Really fun. And she's also like a temptress. Like, they use her as like a distraction a lot in the books, to just like go up and talk to old men and distract them. It's gross on the men's part, but she slays. But this whole season she just wants to get Matthias out of Hellgate, because it's like she doesn't want him to be in literal prison, so that's her thing. Yeah, and she's also becoming besties with Inej, as she should. Yeah. And then Matthias is in Hellgate, and oh gosh, like, I know it wouldn't make sense for the story, but I just want him to be out of Hellgate so he can like do something, because this whole season he was just stuck in Hellgate. But he did have an interesting plot of like, he comes from Fjerda, which is like a whole, like, explaining Fjerdan culture is like a whole crazy thing. Basically, they like, you cannot kiss, you cannot like touch until you're married. They're like very like prim and proper over there, and they think like, they believe very much like traditional roles, and that's why Matthias and Nina work so well together, because Nina is so like flamboyant and rambunctious, and she's just like not at all a Fjerdan woman, and so she kind of like brings out the best in Matthias for like teaching him that like women do not just have to like sit at home and like raise children, and like you can like, you don't have to like not like even go near a woman until you're married, like that kind of thing. And so that's why they're just so cute together. And so he's in Hellgate, and he's kind of just like reminiscing on his time with Nina from season 1, and he's like, dang, I think I love her, and he's like having dreams about her. It's like, it's so cute. And then he's just in prison. That's his whole thing. And then towards the end of the season he almost gets out, but he doesn't. It's really sad. It's okay, I'm gonna get into it now. I'm just gonna talk about the final episode, because that's when both of these sides kind of come together and they meet up in Ravka. And yeah, so basically, I mean, I'm gonna try to go through this briefly. Basically, they all come together. The Crows bring the sword that they need to kill the shadow monsters and the Darkling, and so they give it to Alina, and then like Alina, Mal, Zoya, and Nina go to kill the Darkling, and then the rest of them kind of just like stay behind, and they're fighting the Darkling's little army that he's made, and it's really fun. And so Inej like slays with that sword, and it's like all crazy, and they basically then they defeat the Darkling, and like Alina, before they defeat the Darkling, Alina has to kill Mal to get the amplifier, which is the Firebird, but it's not an actual bird, it's literally just Mal. And so she like kills him, and then she has the amplifier, and then she takes down the fold, and she slays. And then she's so sad that Mal died, that she brings him back to life using Merzost, which is like forbidden magic. And Nina's like, girl, I thought that was so funny. And then they kind of come back, but like things between Mal and Alina aren't the same, because it's revealed, I don't even remember if this happened in the book, but it's this whole thing that Mal feels like he doesn't have such a strong connection to Alina anymore, because he feels like that connection that they had, like bringing them together like since childhood, like that like fate connection was just because he was the amplifier to her, and now that like that's been like extracted from him, I guess they don't have that connection anymore, and it's just like he feels like lost because like he's just always had the amplifier in him even when he didn't know it, the Firebird, and so he's always had this like life mission that he didn't even know of, but he just felt like no matter what, if he was with Alina, he was doing something right, because it was just like his life mission to protect her. But now that he's done that and he like died for her, but now he's back, he feels like he's lost, a lost soul, if you will. And so that basically leads him to becoming Sturmhond, which it was like Nikolai's old alias. Nikolai now is gonna be king of Ravka because like his family died, or like his brother died. That it's pretty insignificant, but he's coming king of Ravka now. And so Mal basically takes Nikolai's pirate person role, and because that's his dream. Like, Mal just loves to like travel around and like map stuff and like explore. That's him. And so he basically goes off and does that, and him and Alina kind of like split up, which didn't happen in the book, and that's so interesting. And I love that ending infinitely more. Like, I don't know if they're at some point gonna come back together and then do the ending that was in the book, because basically in the book it was like everything happened, and then in like the epilogue it was like they just kind of ran away and they faked Alina's death, so people thought the Sun Summoner was dead too, and they kind of just ran off and got married, and then they started an orphanage, because that's how they met. They both met in an orphanage. But then in the show, Mal goes off and becomes a pirate, and Alina stays with Nikolai and becomes queen of Ravka, which I love the ending infinitely more, because it feels like they're both just like following what they want to do, and I'm like, literally slay. So that's their thing. Then as for like the crows, what happens? Oh my god, okay. Okay. After all the battle and the fighting and the Darkling's dead and like all this stuff, Inej and Cal have a little... Cal? I'm confusing so many things. I just confused Kaz, Mal, and Callahan Skogman. That's okay. Inej and Kaz. Inej... Oh my god, I can't. Inej and Kaz have a little moment in the church. Basically, it was, you gotta like watch the entire show to feel the impact of that moment. You gotta read all the books and watch the entire show to feel that moment. And the crazy thing, this is the part that's weird. The scene that happened, it's kind of like a little romantic moment between them, but it's like crazy because Kaz never lets his guard down or anything, but he like he doesn't break down, but he like confesses to her that he like loves her. He says, I want you to stay with me. And this whole thing. But that doesn't, in the books, that scene happens in the second Six of Crows book. So I'm like, why are y'all doing it now? I don't know. But I'm like not against it because I just love seeing it. But basically the entire scene, the point is that Inej is like, she's like, we love each other, but you're like not like telling me, like you're not letting your guard down for me in this whole thing. And so she's like upset about that, rightfully. And so he tells her that he's been looking for her family, and that's like so romantic. That's like Kaz's version of romance. And she's like, oh my god. And so he's like, you can go off and like go with Mal and sail around and find your family and like free everyone. And she's like, oh, for real? And then they gets this whole moment, and he like grabs her arm and he's like, stay in Ketterdam, actually, stay with me. And she goes, and she just kind of is like, she doesn't say it like this, but she's like, girl, you will not even like confess your love for me, I'm not staying for you. And the point of it is essentially she's like, I am not gonna wait around for you to like be ready to be with me. If you're ready to be with me, like come find me. And so essentially the season ends with Inej going off on the boat with Mal, and they go off, and then they also have like Tamar and Toya and maybe Zoya. I don't know if Zoya's on it. I don't think Zoya's on it, but yeah, so they go off, and so Inej and Kaz will happen someday, but not today. And then the crows kind of just like go off on their own thing. And then the big ending of the season is basically the introduction of the Jerdaprem. I don't know if I said that right, but it's this drug that is literally the main plot of the first Six of Crows book, Six of Crows. And so they introduce it at the very end of the season. And it's like very interesting. And then the crows have this thing, so it's like, oh, also Matthias doesn't get out of Hellgate, if that's no one thought he was going to, but he didn't. So I guess Kaz, Nina, Jesper, and Wylan are all there, and Kaz is like, we've got another job, and he's like talking about the Jerdaprem, which is literally the plot of Six of Crows, and that's kind of how it ends. And then this goes into the discussion of like, is there going to be another season? Is there going to be a spin-off show for Six of Crows? Like, what is going to happen? I personally, like, I don't know how much like work it would be to do a whole spin-off show. I feel like they could just do a third season of Shadow and Bone, because they can like if there's a spin-off show for Six of Crows, Alina has to be in it, because there's still plot there with Alina and Nikolai and like the court palace royalty and Ravka stuff. So like it's not like Alina and like Mal and like the characters of Shadow and Bone aren't gonna be in whether it's a spin-off show or a next season. So I feel like they could just do a season 3, have it under Shadow and Bone, but it's focused on the plot of Six of Crows. I don't know. I want something else. Just more. I just want more. So, because here's the thing. I always think of Julie and the Phantoms in situations like this, because they ended their season with a cliffhanger that would have led into a season 2, but they didn't get picked up for season 2. So I'm like, watching the show, it seems like they feel very confident that they're going to get another season, because they left so much unanswered. But then it's also like, I don't know, because they already did the whole thing with Kaz and Inej, which is like the way that they ended at the end of the Six of Crows duology, and then they already got Jesper and Wylan together, which happens in the end of the Six of Crows duology. So it's like they're also kind of like ending stuff, but they're kind of like, I don't know, but I think they should do another season, obviously, because then they can still do the whole ice court heist and do all the Jerdaprem stuff. I really don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but yeah. They just need to do more. That's what they need to do. So, I hope I will be doing another video like this in like 2 years when the next part comes out. If not, I love this show. And if it ends here, we're blessed to have gotten it. As my friend Sadie would say, it's not the best adaptation, but it's a really good crossover fan fiction. That's because it's so true. Does it follow the books? It follows parts of the books. It doesn't follow a singular book at a time correctly, but it stays true to the characters, and I think that's what's most important. So yeah, it's really good. I recommend 100%. I'm going to be rewatching so that it stays #1 in the US and so that they get another season. So yeah, bye.